Good morning, CLC. Good morning. You'll notice that I am not Danielle.
Nor am I.
Danielle is off supporting her son, so we send our love to her and her son while he does his thing today. And I'm just up here to reintroduce, because she's been here before, but for anybody who doesn't know her, this is Reverend Dana. She's one of our online ministers from California, and she is going to do our inner healing. We have visitors in the house. You'll get to see John, and then we'll just tell you where Gregory is, and y'all can go say hi to him too.
So good morning, and I bring greetings from the Creative Life virtual family, which is all over the world. And it's my honor to read the inner healing experience this morning. So take just a moment to breathe in and out. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourselves to the miracle-working higher power. Now, symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner acceptance and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligent, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge.
I acknowledge.
Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflict of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and anyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow now by stating aloud, I choose. And I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week, visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled, and gratefully speak these words: I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me, a family member, friend, mentor who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who's not physically present in the room this morning. And I turn toward that image in my mind and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
And I now open my eyes to the world around me and turn joyfully to the person next to me and share my gratitude and confidence by saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Thank you.
Good to see you all here this morning. So we're starting a series that, it has to do with consciousness, like everything we do here does. And it also is making life a little easier for me because I'm starting a class on Monday nights on the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins. So this month's talk is based on the writings of Emma Curtis Hopkins. Could make it more difficult for myself and you, but I thought, hey, let's stay in one lane for a change here and give you some Emma. Who is Emma? Emma is one of the founders of the New Thought movement, and she was an absolutist. She was a person who said things like, the world is a direct record of your thoughts. The world is an exact outpicturing of what you believe, and specifically what you believe yourself to be. Not an approximation, but an exact picture. So what we're going to be discussing on Monday nights is that viewpoint and whether or not we agree with it, how we might internalize it. And there's a passage, this came to me today, and Joshua says something about, choose this day whom you will serve. There's the Lord of the Hebrews, and there's the God of the Ammonites, and they're different regional and tribal gods at that time in the population and the gathering of the land. And Joshua asks himself rhetorically, he says, who shall I serve? Well, I choose to serve the Lord. Well, we ask ourselves, whom shall I serve? What aspect of spirit shall I devote my life to? Many of us grew up with the distant punishing deity, and we've been trying to follow its rules these many years so as to come out successfully the other side of life. But what if there's a different kind of deity happening? What if, as one school of thought, or several schools of thought has it, what if there's one big overarching, grand, unknowable mystery of a deity, and secondary to that is what it does? In other words, its delivery system in the world. And what if its delivery system in the world and how it delivers what it does is predicated not on some external absolute, but on my position and my own thinking about it? To put that another way, maybe I'm the only person I need to convince of my worthiness to receive. There's nothing out there satellite-like that's waiting for me to do the right thing or come to the right path or somehow clean up my act if I can accept that as I am right now, I am willing to receive and I am able to receive and I am open to receive. Maybe this overarching thing through its delivery system says, well, then receive. Well, then go ahead and receive. What if all I have to do is work within myself on my own stuff, on my own issues? So I thought, you turn stuff around sometimes. You take a phrase and you relanguage it. We say like, Susie went to the store, or you turn it around and you say, well, the store was visited by Susie. And all of a sudden, maybe the story has a little bit, it has a little bit more energy for you. It has a little bit more meaning for you. Our friend, who is not a visitor, he's a practitioner of this center, John Heron, although it's his first physical visit to our place here today, you will hear from him in a little while. When he came in this morning, he looked up at the stage and he said, oh, it looks different in person. It looks better. Well, he said it looks better. And we all asked him, what about it looks better, John? What about? And he says, well, because when you step back from it, you can see how the whole room frames it. So I'm telling you this for two reasons. One is those of you watching at home, come down here and see this. Those of you at a distance, get on a plane like these folks did and come see us here, because you'll come away with a whole different interpretation of it. The other thing is it's called a framing context. And in the context of how the room looks, you step back and it looks different than it did. And to his eyes, it was more pleasing, you know. Well, you get a different vantage point on life. Sometimes when you turn words around, you turn concepts around, you see how they work for you, and you see how you work for them. There's a passage that is very famous in Ernest Holmes' work. A lot of our centers have quoted it for, well, almost a century now, where he says there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. There's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. I have no argument with that statement. It sounds wonderful, but it's incomplete. There's a power for good in the universe, and it's using you. There's a power for good, and it's expressing. It can't do what it needs to do without your full participation. It can't do what it needs to do without you accepting yourself as the expression of love that you are. So all of this work that we do about self-love and self-acceptance and working on our issues and cleaning stuff up, all of that is not only on behalf of the local personal self and its thriving, it serves the whole mechanism, the whole universe. I brought this up a while back. It's kind of an arcane point, but let's go with it anyway. That unconditional love, insofar as that's possible, is the architecture of the universe. Therefore, your work on that and my work on that is doing something cosmic. It's not just fixing our relationships here. It's not just getting us the job that we want or relieving us of the stress that we don't need. Or all of that's wonderful and very necessary, but it's doing something else at the same time. There's an old saying, I got this from James Clear. I love his. Do you like him? Atomic Habits, love his work. So does Reverend Arthur. He quotes him all the time up here. He says, Rome wasn't built in a day, but every day they were laying bricks. I love that. Right? Every day some work was being done. Something was happening. We're making an incremental change in consciousness. Maybe I'm not going to have a complete transformative experience by sundown today, but I'm laying bricks. I'm doing some work. I'm making some progress. This is what we aim to do. So what I thought we would do this month is the theme of it is just gladly. Just gladly. Because it's, you know, Thanksgiving month and so on. But it's a time to notice that life is thanking us. Life is appreciating us. Life is doing something extra. There's a little something more. I introduced some people online to a regional term recently most hadn't heard or acted like they hadn't heard, called Lagniappe. You familiar with Lagniappe? Okay. No. Lagniappe is it's a Cajun word. It's a southern Louisiana word, and it means a little something extra. You order a dozen shrimp, you get 13. That kind of thing. Okay? It's a tip. It's an acknowledgement of life. All right? So life is giving us what we need and a little bit extra. We're putting into the process all that we have and a little bit extra. Every time we flex our mental muscles, every time we question authority, every time we question the scriptures that we've been handed, the doctrines that we've been given, every time we do that, we don't have to reject them outright. We just wonder, we just question, we just explore. It widens our minds. All of a sudden, we're more engaged people. All of a sudden, we're more plugged into what's going on to know what makes things tick. Very often people sit back, they listen to music. They don't wonder what the instruments are made of or how these people train themselves to do that. If you do, you become typically you go down that lane and you become a musician or you become a music theorist in some way, you know. Not a lot of us look under the hood of life. We just kind of get in the thing and we go. But from time to time you step back and say, something about this really fascinates me. And what you're doing there is contributing something not only into your own quality of consciousness, but into the big picture, into all of life. That is unconditional love. Unconditional love is so misunderstood, I think. So I try to clean it up, and I write about it, and I talk about it, and I'm never going to move it all the way up the mountain, but there it is. Unconditional love is it sounds a little ick. It sounds, oh, I just love you. You're just so wonderful. And you, and you, and him and her and them, and, after a while you're like, wait, no, back up. You I have a problem with. You I'm not so sure about. Wait, it's kind of plastering something over human relationships and the dynamics of human relationships. Unconditional love basically says, I might not understand you, I might not even like you, but we breathe the same air. You have a right to thrive. Furthermore, the more of a right to thrive that I grant you in consciousness, the healthier I am. The more freedom I grant you. They say this about forgiveness. It's the giving of free, unharmed passage to someone through your mind. Someone moves through your mind from the old days, and you want to stick your foot out and trip them, right? Somebody moves through your mind, and now they move through, and you bless them, and you thank them for the experience, you thank them for the lessons, you thank them for whatever it is. And at first this is phony, at first this is made up and a little, pretentious probably, but after a while it becomes second nature to you. After a while you do this. You do this because it feels right to you. It feels wholesome to you to forgive and let go. It doesn't mean you have to just roll over for stuff. You stay away from some people as needed. You walk down a different street if you have to. But you grant them free passage through your mind so that you're not filling your own life with toxins of resistance, antipathy. So everything we do is on behalf of both the local self and the cosmic self. How does that work exactly? Because there's really only one self. There's really only one self. You are a spiritual being. We always say you're a spiritual being having a human experience. Of course you are. You're here. You're human. You recognize that. But the part that gets often overlooked is the spiritual nature of you, the fact that you're a chip off the old block, the fact that you are sharing in the divine nature, the fact that you're created in the image and likeness of God. You're created in the image and likeness of God, not the other way around. And the other way around is where stuff gets weird. Is when we think that God is created in the image and likeness of us on a bad day. Right? Because we have mood swings, and we have pettiness, and we have issues, and we have all of this inner inventory that we're aware of. So we take all of that, and we balloon it up to divine proportions, and we send it off into the sky, and we call it God. And so God's up there, and God is mad. God woke up mad today. That's a drag. It's a Sunday. It's his day of rest. If you're going to wake up mad, you wake up on Monday. But, God woke up mad today, and he's looking to take revenge, and he's backing his car out of the garage, and he's driving on the same street you are. And it's like, oh, my God. And this is terrifying to people to think this. And they read the Hebrew Testament sometimes, and it sure looks like there's this whimsical God that one moment is like, oh, I love you, I created you from within myself, but it's time to punish you now because you misbehaved, or you could. Or I love this one, you haven't misbehaved, but you could. You could be thinking about this. I'm going to get as mad now as if I would. You get the idea. And so we live under that sort of feeling because we've made God out to be just a big, overblown human. No, it's better than that. It's better than that, far better than that. Turn it on its head. The divine nature is benevolent, kindly, all-inclusive, all-welcoming, and that is our basic nature too. Can you warp our basic nature? Sure. Read the papers. But you can restore our nature by a true relationship to the source of our own being, which is this spirit. So we turn to it. Emma Hopkins says, everything is seeking its good. Even a rock is seeking its good. We say, I don't see that rock seeking. It's just sitting there, rock-like. But in its nature, as a mineral, it's having an experience of spirit that is perfectly suited to what it is? Does it have reflective self-consciousness? We don't know, really. We guess not, but we make it out to have reflective self-consciousness. We cartoon it, or a fancy word for this you've heard before is anthropomorphize it, turn it into a humanoid sort of a thing in order to have a relationship with it and some sense of understanding of it. But really, left to its own devices, just as a rock, it's doing just fine. And it's seeking its good, or it's inhabiting its good. You and I, as much more complicated beings, are seeking our good. And her contention is that we seek it often in a backward sort of way. We think, typically, that if we get enough money together, we pull enough friends together, we have enough approval from society, we live for 150 years in a perfectly healthy physical form, and we have a sense of purpose and meaning and an exciting job to do, that all of that will equal complete spiritual satisfaction. So we compartmentalize it. And first we work on this, and then we work on that, and then we run over here. And while we're over here tending to our relationships, our career might be struggling, so then we have to do this. And you're juggling all of these different things, trying to have all of this come together as some sense of fulfillment and spiritual meaning in life. Her position is, quoting, among others, Jesus, who said, "Seek you first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Her contention is, if you start with the end in mind, if you start with the big picture of being fully alive, as you are right now, with nothing added or taken away, it's a whole lot easier, and your footsteps will be guided. Your footsteps will be guided. If you don't work so hard, this runs counter. You're going to hear a lot of this. We may have to hand out aspirin or something as we go on through the month, because she's going to take a lot of things that we, sacred cows and stuff, that we believe and have been trained in, indoctrinated in since birth. She's going to take a lot of these things and just turn them inside out. Consider the lilies of the field. They toil not, neither do they spin, yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these, said Jesus. Meaning, take no thought for the morrow, for sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. And some say that by evil he didn't mean evil. Sufficient to the day, or the tribulations thereof, the challenges thereof, the stuff you have to do, the tasks that the occasions that you'll rise to. Sufficient to the day is all of that. Take no thought for the morrow. I have been taught since I was in the crib to take thought for the morrow. Young man, just sit there and think about things. Right? You ever hear that? You just sit there, and when you have decided that you're going to be a better child, then you can have your dinner, you know. And so I'm thinking about how do I get out of this one? What do I? It's all about planning, right? All about, you got to have a plan. How many times people tell you got to write down goals, you got to have lists everywhere of everything that you plan to do. And yet the greatest spiritual teacher of whom we have record, arguably, I suppose, but you'd have to look pretty hard to find somebody who had more on the ball, said, take no thought for the morrow, but trust the power. Trust the power. How do you trust the power? You take thought for it today. You go into the now. You take thought for it in this moment. You choose this day whom you will serve. You choose this day which concept of deity you will follow. I shared in a talk a while back that I've been looking for a better name for God for a really long time. Because just like you, I hear God and there's kind of a tick, you know. And I wasn't abused in the name of God at all, really. I just kind of made that up myself, sitting there thinking, I'm a sinner, you know. At like 6 years old, you think, God, I'm a sinner. What have you done? Well, nothing, but you can't possibly live up to the expectations and stuff. And I know lots and lots of people who have been harmed in the name of God, who have been shamed and humiliated in the name of God. So when the name, you trot the name out, there's a reaction there. And I see it in you, and I feel it in myself. So I find other names, other things to call it. And invariably what's funny is when I do that, and I'll give a talk on it, somebody will come up afterward and say, why don't we ever talk about God? Okay, well, look, the divine nature is the activity of spirit in the world. The activity of, you want to get clinical about it, let's talk about the primacy of non-physical reality. That's really what it is. The primacy of non-physical reality. Thoughts are things. Things are thoughts. Raymond Barker, we have a book study starting on him too with John Rennie this month. Raymond Barker says the only purpose for a thought is to become a thing. Now let's sit with that a moment. The only purpose for a thought is to become a thing. If it doesn't become a thing, it hasn't fulfilled its destiny. Sometimes what thoughts do is they go and find other thoughts. And they all get together in kind of a group setting, and they become sort of a group thing, a conceptual reality. So thoughts are becoming things. So the thoughts that I'm thinking, when empowered with feeling, form beliefs, and the beliefs, well, I've been told it's done to me as I believe. Then through my beliefs, I'm perceiving the world. Through the screen of my beliefs, I'm perceiving the world. Whatever I believe to be so, especially about myself, is how I perceive the world. The world is you. So whatever I believe about myself is how I perceive you. You, generally speaking. Also, you, specifically speaking. In other words, the people that I know and the relationships that I know that I have, I'm perceiving them through my own self-valuation. And I'm perceiving the whole lot of everybody and life itself through my own valuation. That's why the world persists in exhibiting before me what I persist in affirming the world is, and it can't outgrow that. It can't outrun that. Except in slight bursts, but then it recedes back into the opinions that I continually revisit. In other words, I sit there and I read some inspiring literature. I have some great meditation, whatever. I'm like, wow, everything is beautiful and I love everybody and it's a wonderful day. And then the phone rings. And then I'm back into, oh, what do they want? And, and you're back into the sauce, really, back into the soup of your own consciousness. This is why we have regular spiritual practice, to pull us out of this and to pull us into something greater. Isn't it Michael Beckwith talks about something pushes you until something pulls you? Pain pushes you until spirit pulls you, right? So what is it that we're seeking? What is this self that we're seeking? Liberation from suffering, liberation from the eternal recurrence of pain and limitation in hitting the wall in life. And so the work that is to be done is to ask ourselves, how could I see this differently today? How could I restructure this, reframe this, relanguage it in my mind? How could I do this more effectively? And I submit to you that a great place to start is in looking at the words of Emma Curtis Hopkins when she talks about having a greater idea of the good. The good is your God. The God is your good. Good is that state of satisfaction and empowerment that nevertheless opens itself to challenges and growth. Nevertheless expands. You don't want to be all about something that you know so well that you could do it in your sleep, because you'll find that you're asleep while doing it. Musicians I use often as examples here, these folks who play so beautifully every Sunday. They came up here, put no feeling into it whatsoever. I know these chords, I know these lyrics, I know this tempo. I'm just going to roll this thing out because I can. You wouldn't feel it. We'd all go to sleep But instead they get up here and there's passion and there's conviction and there's commitment because they're learning and doing something new. Even if it's the same song that they've sung 1,000 times before, they're doing something new. You want to be tested in some way. And I got into this with you last week, and I'm winding down here if you wonder, because I hit you with a lot already this morning. But the idea about process, I can't get past this. Process philosophy, process psychology. Alfred North Whitehead, Charles Hartshorne, you can read some of these people. It's fascinating stuff. And what it says is that life is a process. Life is an unfolding journey and so on. But in terms of your personal work and mine, we're about a process. We're about a learning process. You're healed like the palsied man was healed so that you can get up and walk to your next appointment. We are healed of our limitations so that we can rise to the next occasion. We are healed of financial insecurity so that we can be a blessing in somebody else's life. We are healed of our fear of human relationships and our phobias and neuroses so that we can be more effective humans. That's the process. It's not, boom, you're healed, now you're done. It's instead, now you're healed, here's your passport. Here's your ticket to adventure. What are you going to do with this? And we continue to learn and we continue to grow. And every time we're faced with a question that we can't answer, it looks like a problem, and we're built to solve problems. And in the solving of problems through the use of our talents and our surrender, both put together, we continue to create a life of destiny in which sometimes you have larger and larger problems that occur, like you're taking on world hunger, like you're taking on something that's beyond just the narrow confines of your own experience. But how can I change the planet? How can I do something huge and contribute my voice to having it be a world that works for everyone? So this process, this unfolding process, has called on us, but step one always, we revisit step one a lot around here, but it's not the only step we touch on. It's good to touch base with it. Step one is to take an inventory of the self and say, where am I selling out? Where am I not fully invested in my spiritual discovery? Where am I believing in something less than I could? Where am I being a little too prosaic about the whole thing? Just let it unfold the way that it does, but without a true surrender into spirit. I'm just relying on what has never worked before. And she talks about this too, Emma does, that you come back to the information base that you had time and time again until you've outgrown it, and it's so confining and constricting to you that you have to have a new and different idea. Then she says, with this new and different idea, your business no longer interests you. The process that you were engaged in of doing this and maybe having that happen or waiting for something to happen, or you're fishing off the wrong side of the pier kind of thing, all of a sudden it no longer interests you, it no longer compels you, and you're led off in a whole new way, in a whole new path of discovery. So be prepared for surprises when you do this work. As you start this work or as you continue this work, if you've been doing it a while, you go into your spiritual time, you go into your prayer, you go into your meditation. Be prepared for some surprises, but don't try to anticipate what they are, because you'll only be more surprised, and you'll be at the airport when your ship comes in, So let it all unfold in a way. The process, I'll leave you with this, knows what it's doing. Spirit knows what it's doing. Every now and then somebody says, how could God let this happen in the world? And almost exclusively they're talking about human stupidity on parade. But Spirit, real Spirit, knows what it's doing, created you, left nothing out. No parts are still in the box. Everything is there, organically, in you, to do what it is you showed up here to do. And if you don't know what that is, stand by. Stand stand by, because it's framing itself for you now in the invisible, shortly to be delivered into form as all thoughts do. Let's know together now, one life, one power, one presence, pure spirit, everywhere radiant, everywhere manifesting. Look at this day. Look well to this day that Spirit has created. Look at the weather of this day. Look at the moisture that came from the sky that we had so needed here. Listen to the happy birds and see all the happy little animals and everything scampering across the face of nature. Look at that and say, the same mind that did that is the mind that I use. The same mind that fashioned this amazing world is the mind that I use. How could I ever run out of ideas? How could I ever run out of options? How could I ever feel cornered living in such a mind as the co-creator of life as I perceive it with that mind? Well, I could never run out of ideas. Perhaps I just haven't been listening. So now I do. I turn to that still small voice within, which sometimes is a mighty roar. And it reminds me of who I am and whose I am and what business I am about here. It reminds me to let go of the things I cannot control. Reminds me to trust the process. While at exactly the same time, paradoxically enough, keeping the high watch. Keeping the high watch. For I never know from which direction good is flowing into my experience and into the world's experience. So I watch for it, I listen for it, I prepare for it, and I act as though it's already shown up. I act in trust, starting with the end in mind. That all is well, and all is well, and all manner of things shall be well. For this knowing, and its manifestation in form everywhere I turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
Don't stand too close.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. You all think that Reverend Jess is in charge. He isn't. Actually, the rest of the front row's in charge. And And he also, yeah, well, I won't say any more, Lisa. I will not say any more. I was just thinking about the rock. Reverend Jesse, you rock. You did. I forgot. Oh, yeah, I was totally confused today because normally when Reverend Jesse says, and in conclusion, or I'll end with this, it means nothing because what happens is when he really is finishing, Jeffrey moves to the piano. But he didn't do that this morning, which means he had no idea when Reverend Jesse was going to finish. True? Oh, I got to tell you this story. I know it's my job to do announcements, but I got to tell you this story, and it matches what you were talking about. And probably some of you have heard it. There was a guy on the subway in New York, and he had, I think, 3 kids with him, and the kids were being incredibly unruly. And one of the passengers got fed up and says, "Can't you keep your kids under control?" He said, "Well, we just came from the hospital. Their mother just died." And the person, of course, completely changed how they looked at the world. And I think that matches what you were talking about, you know. You just never, ever know. Okay. And once again, I'd like to welcome to our fold here our distance people, Reverend Dana, John, and Gregory. So, welcome. So please make sure you talk to them after the service because they've come a long way just to be here. California for 2 of them, and Princeton, New Jersey for somebody else. Right? Well, actually, and speaking about John Herron, he's actually the one who runs the writers group on Saturday. So if you're interested in the writers group, you don't have to actually call him, text him. You can actually talk to him personally about that. I'm supposed to come up here and talk about money. It costs money to run this center, but more importantly than that, if you are getting value from creative life, either in person or online, I'm pleading with you, or I'm begging you, to please show that in your support. You know, you go to the store, you want a loaf of bread, you pay for the loaf of bread. If you go to a concert, you pay for the concert. You know, life has got value. If you value what we preach and what we teach, and it's for the good of the world, then please, whether you've done so in the past or not, without any guilt whatsoever, please consider starting to contribute to our center now. And for the ones of you who have been contributing all along, we're truly, truly grateful. So as Chip makes his way to the back, Chip. I'm not quite sure if he was asleep or not. Oh no, he's got his basket with him. He's a true basket case in the best sense of the word. So please say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And by the way, Mary, that was wonderful. I mean, that was truly, truly wonderful.
This is a fun song with a kind of a country beat. It comes from Ken Keyes and the Cornucopia Center. It's called When I Opened Up My Heart. Oh, jeez. Sorry, got to tighten my G-string.
Ba-dum-boom.
There. When I opened up my heart, I opened up the door. When I opened up my heart, I opened up the door. When everything is waiting inside, everything is waiting inside. All I did was open up my heart. When I give my love away, I always get it back. When I give my love away, I always get it back. Everything is waiting inside, all the love is waiting inside. All I did was give my love away. When I bid my fears goodbye, my love starts to shine. When I bid my fears goodbye, my love starts to shine. Love is always shining inside. Love is always shining inside. All I did was bid my fears goodbye. Take it, Jeffrey. When I let my feelings show, my love starts to flow. When I let my feelings show, my love starts to flow. Love is always growing inside. Love is always growing inside. All I did was let my feelings show. When I let my anger go. Oh, okay, yeah, modulate. When I let my anger go, my love starts to flow. When I let my anger go, my joy starts to flow. Joy is always flowing inside. Joy is always flowing inside. All I did was let my anger go. First verse. When I opened up my heart, I opened up the door. When I opened up my heart, I opened up the door. Love is always waiting inside. Love is always waiting inside. All I did was open up my heart. Again, everything is waiting inside. Everything is waiting inside. All I did was open up my heart.
Now, normally, my favorite thing to do is the closing prayer, but we do have visitors, and we cleared it last night, so I'm calling John up. He lives in Princeton, New Jersey, and is visiting us, and so he is going to do the closing prayer, so I'm going to duck out.
And I'm ducking in. Be prepared for surprises. And so God is infinite surprise in the form of each person here at CLC, each person in the world, infinite surprises. And God experiences itself as infinite surprise. And so I know that God, Spirit, the One, the Source, is experiencing itself as infinite surprise through each person at CLC, through anyone listening online right now or in the future, and for the whole world. This infinite surprise is present in the hearts and minds of everyone, of the whole world. It is a place of infinite surprise, of the one experiencing itself in new ways. And so that one is present right here, right now, in, as, and through each one participating in any way in this service. And so I declare, as each one goes out into their lives, they take that infinite surprise and recognize the one expressing as wonderful surprises in every way. And so everyone is now experiencing a life of great surprise. And I know that everyone takes that surprise that shows up, opens their heart and receives it, and is ready for the next surprise, because that's what's here. Infinite surprise. And so I declare that each one's life is filled with the joy of infinite grace, infinite living blessing, and that's what this center is. And that's what each person involved with this center is. And so I am blessed to know and speak this truth, and I release it into the law, which simply says yes. And in that place of yes, I release it, and together we say, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use it.
And I love it. And so it is.
So it is.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
I love